Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Off Point. My name's Les Steed.
I'm Marlon White.
And today we have a special guest called Willow.
Hello.
Willow.
Hi, Willow.
How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad actually. It took us an hour and a half to get this shit sorted.
Oh, I know.
We're here.
I know.
Because
Sound check.
Yeah, sound check. 3 hours you had because I'm late. Right, speaking of being late, so today's topic is ADHD in adults. Obviously, this is quite a big one for me because I have it and I was diagnosed in September 2019. Since then, I've created a guest blog on Adhd, which you should check out if you can. Or if you've got enough time to listen to me bitch about my ex-girlfriends for a long time. Shock. Right, anyway, Willow, tell us your journey.
Oh, my journey.
Your journey.
Well, I only really discovered I had it about 2 years ago, and it wasn't even me who discovered it. Basically, my boyfriend Tim was just like, I was just being a natural, chaotic me one day, and he's like, "Oh, do you know what? Do you have ADHD?" It's a joke, and we're like, "Okay, let's Google it." Went on the NHS website, and I ticked off everything, literally everything, tick. I was like, "Holy shit! This is me. I am ADHD," and it makes so much sense because impulsive, impatient, got so much energy all the time, poor attention to detail, everything I've got.
Everyone loves you, but no one really wants to employ you.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Managed to hold down a job, but it's a thing.
Well done. It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar situation with when I discovered mine because actually I was in Chile on a job, working on this project with a friend of mine, and we were and every time the thing is that we would do these interviews as journalists, in the person we were speaking to would be Spanish, would be in a crowded cafe, trying to sort of keep the recording devices on. I'm taking notes. Our translator wasn't that bothered about being there, so we would so there's 15 different stimuli. And I just kept losing the thread of what was going on and zoning out, and it made me look unprofessional. So every time we'd have an interview, I'd have my friends have a go at me for fucking it up, basically. And I was I couldn't figure it out. And then the guy had read about ADHD and been using it to basically excuse himself for being an arsehole, which he doesn't have it, but he's an arsehole. So, but he was like, yeah, you have ADHD. And I was like, okay. And I was kind of scared to read about it. But
Sorry to interrupt you there. How old were you then?
I was 29. Yeah, I was just 29. Yeah,
2 years ago.
Yeah. So it was about a month before I was diagnosed, and then my best mate and I, she got really tired because we were on these trains and everything all the time and traveling all the time. And after about 2 weeks of me doing it, she just went batshit, being like, "You're ruining the project. What the shit's going on with you? I'm not. It's not my fault. I'm trying to concentrate." And I've been not fired, but left a job under certain circumstances. I was pushed out of a job basically before because of lack of attention to detail, things like that. But it doesn't make sense because you, as we were discussing before, you make all the effort and yet somehow you miss something and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, can I just saying something on that for people who might not understand it? It's literally you could be looking at a number and you're convinced that's the right number. You checked it 3 times, you come back and then someone be like, "No, that's the wrong number." You'd be like, "No, I swear I checked it." It's crazy. It's kind of like you're blind to something.
Yeah. But then I found though that when they were trying to push me out, I spent a day just sitting down because I really cared about it. I sat down, I went through all of their I think they had sort of a big investigation that was something like a 5-6 page document in which they basically put me on a performance improvement plan, because of course I couldn't improve my performance because I have ADHD and I was undiagnosed. So when they put me through that plan, I went through all of the mistakes they'd made, destroyed them for it because I had the whole hyper-focus thing going on because it was really emotional for me. So I was like, no, I'm not going down like that. I'm going to go down fighting. I destroyed the fucker to the point that the woman who ended up trying to fire me, if I'd known I had ADHD and they'd still done that, I could have turned around. I had depression, I had anxiety because of them. And then, the whole thing was a mess. So for about a year.
Sorry to interrupt your story there. I just think it'd be very useful to go back through your journey of ADHD from a kid until now, issues you've had. I know you two have had different journeys because you're self-diagnosed, right? You've been actually clinically diagnosed.
Yeah, but it costs £500. That's probably why most people don't get diagnosed.
Yeah, I want to go back to the beginning because obviously I've known you for the past 10 years or plus from university, and I always thought you're a very interesting character, one of the most interesting characters I know. And I know from my personal experience that just due to you having this, we didn't know what it was at the time. It's the reason why in some cases you may have rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Obviously, I grew to love you, but other people may not. So like, I think it's very important to go back to like how you were in school and to how you are now.
I was always quite Marmite, a bit like Marmite. People either love you or they just think you're a twat. And unfortunately, I think that there's a lot of elements to ADHD, including social insensitivity. Like, we have no third party perspective, right. So we therefore come across as insensitive, blunt, obnoxious sometimes, or that we don't care, when actually we care more than anyone in the room. Because I mean, when I was tiny, I would go around running up to people like, do you like me? Do you like me? Because I had no way of telling, and everyone else could understand. But
so how were you in nursery?
I was fine. I mean, I got bullied consistently because I'd make myself continually vulnerable. And if you get RSD as well, which is rejection sensitivity dysphoria, where, for example, if you told me I was a twat, most people are like, well, he's a cunt, doesn't matter. But when you're in that kind of, it suddenly hits you. It's not all the time, but sometimes it will hit you, and it'll be a comment like, I remember when I was 16, this guy goes, it was his leaving due at this work thing. I don't remember the fucker's name. I remember exactly what he looked like when he said, yeah, I've always thought you were a cunt. Anyway, goodbye. And off he went. And I was like, and it just stuck with me since I was 16.
And then did that make you think that other people thought you were good?
Yeah,
see, that's what I get. Because if one person says that, you're like, oh, actually, all my friends hate me. You get really paranoid. You believe everyone's
I didn't think
hiding
he was my
that
friend.
from me.
I mean, he definitely wasn't my friend. But yeah, colleagues. But that's kind of
actually quite normal for you. You start to wonder if there's something about you, if one person thinks something about you. I think that's quite normal.
Also, the other thing is that I always find myself in the most trouble, but I've not done anything wrong.
Right.
So this really weird thing where, for example, recently, both my friend and I have said that we're not going to pay this guy who wants to rip us off, basically. He's threatening to sue me. He's completely forgotten about her. And it makes no sense. It's like, what the fuck is that? I mean, obviously he doesn't have a leg to stand on, otherwise I wouldn't talk about it. But he, this asshole decides that he's going to go for me. And it doesn't make any sense, because he seems to think that for some reason, either I'm stupid or that I'm like completely incapable of, well, I mean, I know his address now, I know his company's default, I know that he's broken the law 3 times so far. Ooh. So I'll see him in court. But that's because I got upset and couldn't sleep for a night, and then the next day sat there and really nailed him. But I went all out, and I'm perfectly capable of, I have enough information now to really upset him if he messes with me again. But the point is that I shouldn't have to go through that process. And that is ADHD there. It is feeling threatened and then taking it to an extreme. And then potentially, while I would never act on it because I don't want to, it's having that power, but then never using it. And I think that that's where we get underestimated a lot, because and also I think that the executive functioning and everything like that, going back to what we're talking about with work,
So it's like attention to detail, I was saying, sort of like in job descriptions. Who knows? Off point at that. It's like all job descriptions will say you need attention to detail. That could actually be impossible. Yeah. Like literally, so like as you were saying.
Without medication. And that medication can cost £100, £200 a month if you're not on the NHS. So, which is expensive. It costs another £500 to just get diagnosed. I found it for £450. It was the cheapest I could find.
But that's what I'm not going to do it.
I think it's very important for us to go through that entire purpose in a moment. What were you like in nursery growing up?
I think I was always I've always been tried to be friends with everyone. Yeah, I've been very outgoing, and it has made me very outgoing because I can see I'm chatty all the time, whatever. But what I think is interesting that it's picked up more in boys, because girls are kind of seen as a characteristic trait. It's seen as being a chatty girl is quite normal, but when a boy's disruptive, it's kind of picked up on a lot more. So I think, naughty. Whereas mine is more she's chatty, whatever. So it's kind of been pushed aside, and I think it's just seen as much more of my characteristic trait. So I've been very normal through school and stuff like that. Just got away with being chatty and very outgoing.
So Les, how were you when you moved from nursery into school? Because there's always that period where you have to sit in front of the teacher, put your fingers on your lips and cross your legs on the carpet. How were you? Were you disruptive, or were you able to do that?
I think I was kind of every teacher's. I've consistently been a favourite of a lot, particularly female teachers. It's kind of hit and miss, but even at uni as well, because I think that we're naughty-ish but lovable as well. And as a teacher, I know that those are my favourite students as well. The ones who would act out a little bit, and you'd be like, and they'd be like, oh, sorry, miss.
Because they care. Yeah. It's just it's just innate to them.
Yeah, and it's fun and it's cute and it's great, but it is disruptive. I mean, it is difficult.
Yeah.
It is hard to teach students like that, and I think that a lot of teachers, especially when you're very bright like I am and like you are, you know, like, I mean, not to suck our own dicks or anything, but you know, like we are quite ADHD people tend to be very intelligent as well. So there's that kind of disconnect between you're intelligent, but why aren't you able to do these things? And that's so frustrating for us as individuals as well. So I would be top sets across the board, and yet my A levels were bollocks because I wasn't in the subjects I wasn't interested in or took for granted or coasted on. I fucked up. But for example, history I've always been interested by, and I got the top mark in the country for a mock exam in that.
Ooh.
I think that's very interesting as well.
Didn't do it as an A level.
I think that's very interesting. Do you think the reason why you did well in history is because you can use your imagination, you can use your personality? Definitely. Because I was good at history as well. I wasn't really that good at most other subjects besides maths and a few others. But I mean, history. The reason why I like history because I can use my imagination. I like to be creative. I like to think. I like to think about stuff. If you're just talking to me about like accounting or something, I'm just gonna zone out.
Can't do it. Yeah, same here. That's it. It's like we've got an interest-driven nervous system, so that's why journalism's great because I'm interested in the people I talk to. But if there's a palpable difference between the features that I produce about people who I've spoken to and care about, and something dry like a council meeting that I don't give a fuck about.
Right.
And if it's a subject I'm not interested in, then the article comes out shit. But if there's and this is what my editors said, but if it was a profile or it was about animals or it was about people or it was about something like that, then I'm on it. I am going to give them a Pulitzer Prize winning piece. It's like 1,200 words when they've asked for 400.
So for people who don't know, who might think they have ADHD, because you've self-diagnosed, you've been clinically diagnosed, what are the symptoms?
Shit.
So you've got like, there's kind of two parts of it. It's like the inattentiveness group and you've got the hyperactivity group. And within those things,
as well.
Yeah. And it kind of goes across. So hyperactivity, which is a lot more what I have, it's like having like a lot of energy, massive mood swings, being really impatient, really impulsive, like acting without thinking, which is what they say it's acting without thinking, but you do actually think you think. Yeah. But it's just like to other people, like, because you're so methodical in setting up all this equipment, it was amazing to me. I'd just be like, oh, for fuck's sake, like I can't do this. I'd give up. So it's kind of like that sort of frustration element. Then the inattentiveness element is like, it's like the fidgeting, can't focus if we're in a meeting. I've zoned out already. Like Les might have zoned out me talking just now because I'm monologuing. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so it's kind of like...
Some of the stuff, so they interrupted, some of the stuff you've mentioned there makes me think, do I have ADHD? Because I zone out when people talk all the time. And my wife is in the background over there. And apparently she has a lot of conversations with me that I don't remember. Apparently.
I think that's just been a I mean, that was the thing.
She's pulling a fast on one of those two.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh honey, don't you remember that my parents are coming over next weekend? I haven't told you. It's like, I mean, I think that's another thing though, because I had this whole huge issue getting over my ex-girlfriend. And my brother the other day, he just turned to me and goes, yeah, I still sometimes think about my ex, probably every day as well. Because we broke up with our ex-girlfriends at the same time. I'm not trying to dob him in. I hope his new girlfriend isn't listening because he does love her to pieces. He really does, and we all do. She's part of the family. Anyway, but he was saying like, no, that's normal. And when you've been diagnosed or you think about all the ADHD stuff, there's a lot of things that are normal behaviours, but we kind of seem to get, or at least we allegedly get them a lot more than normal people. So we're kind of like a bit extra. Like everyone always says, oh yeah, you're so intense. And that's an exhausting sentence. That really hurts sometimes.
I think also in that kind of like, you know, like the Britishness sense of like stiff upper lip, very reserved, all this stuff. I've always hated it because I'm very outgoing. I don't give a fuck. Like I'm just very like bullish and I'll do something. I'm very blunt, and that goes completely again.
And they think you're a
what
child.
we're taught.
They treat you like a child
100%.
Sometimes.
At my work, I was actually told very early on that basically I was making too many jokes. I need to be a bit more professional. This stuff. I was like, I'm literally just being me. Like I'm doing perfect work.
Yeah, I got pulled over for that at my first job as well.
Willow, we've got to ask, what do you do?
Oh, so I'm in like operations for a social research agency. So I do like HR, finance, ops, bit of like new bid writing, bit of everything.
We have a note.
We have a note.
Producer.
Oh, yeah. Come hither.
Come hither. Come to us.
My wife doesn't want to be on camera.
We've got really long arms. What we got here?
What we got?
American culture ADHD, you sexy bitch. Okay, alright, let's do this.
Hey.
Okay. Sorry. Love you. I love you more than he does. Anyway, yeah. Okay, so that was a note there. That's a distraction, and now we're probably going to end up talking about it. Right, what were you saying?
I was talking about basically it's just like you get judged on your personality in the workplace, but there's not enough awareness about like it's my personality, it's me being ADHD. Like, you can't just tell me that, because that's actually like...
Yeah, it's like, ridiculous. Why don't you just go and tell a disabled guy to stand up and walk over here? You know, I mean, like, you'd be mortified. Or if you told a black person, oh yeah, it's not your culture or something like that, and they're like, I'm from Lewisham. You know, it's like, just fucking tell me about culture,
so
you bitch.
Like, with your personality, that obviously it's a strong personality for both of you. Do you ever feel that you need to water it down? Because I think
we're told to. That's the worst bit. We're told to water it down, because it's like you were saying, like, you know, like if you're in a professional environment, why would you have a personality of your own? But then they always want creative, out of the box things. They're full of shit. Like the whole work culture, and this is the whole corporate.
I think
it's a load of bollocks.
Yeah. But I think that's the whole issue why we all, like, you've had issues in school and all that. I think the whole educational structure is to create subordinates. So you go into the workplace and you're meant to fit in this box, you're meant to do this, and you're there to
provide function.
Like a obot. And like, also, if you don't have that personality to just conform to what you're told or what's meant to be normal, you're not gonna fit in well. That's why I think that people like you are better off in doing creative jobs where you can just that's not true though. Like there's loads of famous people that are able to be creative.
You got a note.
Yeah.
It's Would you like me to read the list for you? You have Johnny Depp, Justin Timberlake, Jim Carrey, David Blaine, Jamie Oliver, Paris Hilton. This is the irony, is that...
So those are a list of celebrities that
our producer
diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah.
Do you want to read through that list again for us?
So Johnny Depp, Justin Timberlake, Jim Carrey, David Blaine, Jamie Oliver, Paris Hilton. Thing is that this is the irony of the whole, because this is what I've always found difficult, is that when I'm in an office environment, I'm told I'm the funny guy, I bring a load of life to the office. And it's like, you know, and I've been in these really dead environments in which I've been in which the head office came in to encourage us to be more lively and chatty and have a chat. And I'm like, I'm pulling my fucking weight, but it's not my fault. Every time I make a phone call, the place echoes around me with 10 people in it. Like, it's retarded. And then I was the arsehole. It exhausts me.
That's why I don't actually like the workplace. They try to make you get comfortable and want to socialize, but there's always a boundary. There's always a boundary.
Yeah, and they
if
never
I'm
tell you where
actually
it
my
is.
true self, I get fired or get called in. So
that's what happens to us.
I find it all fake and everything, and that's why I don't give my true self.
You can't be you.
I know I'm gonna get into trouble. So I can't say what I want to say. I can't do what I want to do. And so I find the whole structure of it complete bullshit. And that's why I don't go to social stuff, because
what's the point? You're not being you. So.
Yeah, it's exhausting. It's like, why on earth are we so accustomed to wearing masks over our true selves? It kills me. Because it's like, oh yeah, but you're being professional. No, you're not. You put on a pantomime act of something when it's not what you think. It's not who you are. And you get those really and the worst bit is, the most successful people career-wise are the ones who perfected that mask. There's this guy called Angus who dated my friend, and he went to a private school, and when I spoke to him socially, he handled me. He didn't speak to me. He never really understood who this person in front of him was. He just sits there and goes, yes, let's. Ha ha, fuck, corker. I don't know a thing about the guy. I don't have a thing to say about the guy. He's the dullest piece of shit. Well, he's not even a piece of shit. He's actually a very nice bloke, but that's all I know about him. He's a nice enough fella, because that's the impression he's given me. But that's an on-purpose veneer mask. He does drugs on the weekend like everybody else. Yeah. Like, why would you need...
And why do we need to put up for this facade? It's because you don't trust people. That's the problem. And you can't. Because you can't trust them, because then they turn around and tell you you're unprofessional and you need to pipe down.
And then you're stabbed in the back from people you actually have thought you were having a relationship with, and they stab you. I had the same thing at the Sun. Like, you know, I had the audacity to actually make friends with people, or try to, and stab. And I was warned I would be stabbed. That was the weird
That's
bit.
Mental that people even said that. That's an awful working environment.
Watch her, she's a snake, and she was perfectly nice to me, and then made a complaint about me formally. And what the fuck?
Sorry to interrupt you there as well. I remember when my first job at a university, I worked for this college, and I remember when I'm new in an environment, I'm a very quiet person. People always say I'm quiet, so I always sit in the background. It's interesting what you notice when you're that quiet. People don't realize that you're there. Like, I see these people that they're hanging around with each other, all friendly, but then somebody walks out of the room and they're just talking shit about that person, and I'm just like, I thought you guys were friends and all that. I thought you guys were cool, but turns out you're just snakes and you just saying all sorts of shit about each other.
I think that's quite...
I found that really, I'm like, wow.
It's disgusting, is it? But that's what I really wonder.
That's British office culture.
But is it like every office culture? I don't know. Is there, because you know how like there's so many companies out there, like Facebook, it's like, we're a massive family. Like, I really want to know whether that's actually true. Like, is anywhere genuinely?
No.
I don't think it's possible.
Unless it's a family business, in which case they're going to fight like cats openly.
And Les, what I wanted to say as well, the reason why I wanted to do this podcast with you, because I thought I wanted to do a podcast with somebody creative, somebody who's interesting. And the first person, one of the first people I thought of was you, just because of your personality. I think your personality brings a lot. Just like you say anything, you live an interesting life, and I think people like you should be doing more creative stuff just because.
Oh yeah, I mean, I recently had a book of poetry that I wrote when I was about 25, published by. It's called The Positivity Verses. Little plug
Is it
there.
out on Amazon?
It's out on Amazon.
Is it actually?
And Barnes and Noble.
Oh my god!
Yeah, don't buy it. It's scary. No, but buy it. I need money. But yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, we do all these creative things, but we do them, and then either you get applauded for them, but you always that social anxiety that you learn throughout life is that you're not acceptable as a person, and so you have to find a reason for people to accept you, and the reason is obviously now ADHD, because now all of a sudden, instead of it being just me being a weirdo, for having the audacity to have a personality and not be boring, versus people who are. And now all of a sudden there's a tribe of us. So it's not a me now, it's an us. And that was the biggest thing that I got from the diagnosis, is that it's not just me. And that's huge. But the fact is that we should not have to have a scientific definition of ourselves as neurodiverse. Because society is so straight-laced that it can't understand that people should be more than this capitalist sort of, I don't know what, or maybe communist or something ist. And I'm done with being an ist. It's exhausting, and it's like I'm not having fun doing this. I get 70 years to live, But I mean, British culture, British office culture in particular. I didn't have this problem in Indonesia, and this is one of the points that our producer has made. Is that American culture and ADHD. So when I was living abroad, I lived with Americans, Aussies, Canadians, Germans. Well, she's in a half. Germans, and everybody. And that diversity is what I thrived on. I've lived with French people, Belgian people. Everything. And I love it. I love that kind of that input. But the cultures that come with it are so different. So, for example, for us, we would probably be a lot better off in Australia, where people are a lot more laid back. There's a bit more sunshine. We're less likely to get depressed. There's more things out there that can kill you, which kind of adds a little bit of spice to life. A
little bit of danger. We love it.
Yeah, I love a little bit of danger. A bit of drama. And that's one of the things I miss about it. But instead, I live in England.
So I think it's very important because, as I said, you're both being diagnosed differently. You self-diagnosed, you clinically diagnosed. So what are the steps?
First things first is someone tells you why you're being a retard. You spend 10 years trying to figure it out, and then they tell you, actually, have you tried checking this out? You check it out, you sit there for about 2 hours reading over the same list again and again, and I got quite emotional when I realised. I won't lie, I was a little tear or two shed.
When you say this, is this something online or is it like?
I went to Adhd and Ocd, who I now write for, but it gives you a basic overview, which is like 5 or 6 items. Then you do a little test that they can give you, and if you get over, 10 or 12, then it's likely that you should probably get checked out for it.
And is this something on the NHS or is it something private?
It's just, you can find it everywhere. There is lots of these little tests.
Right.
Don't use BuzzFeed, they're crap.
Right.
But use a related site.
So you mean just go on Google and just type it
ADHD symptoms. Yeah, that's easy.
I mean, give a list of these websites then.
I go for ADD Ocd myself, that's some bias. There's also Adhd UK or ADHD UK. Instagram's packed full of people like the ADHD nurse. Who talk about it, but then again, it's just kind of if you turn it into a TikTok thing, it devalues what it is. It is a serious issue for a lot of people, but equally though, it does have so many positives.
Yep.
We're more creative than most people, and it's but that comes with its own exhaustion. Is that, for example, when I'm trying to design something in my head, I can get all these ideas done like that, and now I have to wait for someone else to catch up. And then my boss, in the case of a construction situation where I was rebuilding the van, where I was renovating a van, it would take me to say something. My dad, who was our engineer, didn't take me seriously because he's, I'm his son and he's grown up with me just having pie in the sky ideas all the time. Then my friend Laura would say the exact same idea that I've just said, and then she gets listened to because she's seen as a more serious person.
Which I really hate, because it's like being serious. You can be serious in a way that doesn't have to be like stone face. I'm saying this thing. You can just be serious because you have a good idea, but you can deliver it in a much more charismatic way.
And we're always dismissed for it because they think because we tell jokes or because we're a little bit ditzy that we're idiots, and actually we're sharpest people in there half the time.
So what is the next step then after you've done your test online?
So after you've done your test, you then check it. It then makes you a bit paranoid for a couple of weeks. You talk to your friends and family, you talk to other people, you kind of look through it. The major thing for me is that all those questions in the past, as to what the fuck happened there. I've spent years obsessing over, like breakups, things like that. Why did I fuck that up? In one case, why didn't I hear somebody say they weren't happy? And then I still went ahead and did things that were upsetting for them. Like things like that. And it's like, it doesn't make logical sense. So all of a sudden, all of those things that you couldn't understand have suddenly fallen into place.
But you find a missing piece. You realize why this is happening, why people perceive you a certain way.
And then it makes you reevaluate and look at everything differently. And I tried to explain this to the ex-girlfriend who I'd upset, and she told me to go fuck myself because she's a cunt. But she literally.
You ever felt like you've been given like a bad hand now, like just because?
Not really.
Just because like it's not your fault. This is not something you're trying to do. This is something that's in you.
No, it's a case of it's not necessarily. You look at the world differently. You look at society differently. I always looked at society differently anyway. From when I was about 22, when I had that major incident we don't talk about, because it showed quite how stupidly fragile all of this thing is. If you don't fit into society, you're not going to find yourself with the nuclear family.
Right.
So that's the issue that we always fight, is because we're not designed for that. And that's hard to explain to people who want that, because that's what we've been brought up with as well. And we have to understand that and then make that clear. I'm not, but then people say, oh, you're immature. They try to put you in that different box that doesn't apply. They try to make you feel like, but you're always going to be the odd one out. And that's hard when you're the most sociable person in there, when you need people. That's difficult. When that rejection comes in, you're fucked. That hurts. Because, and that's why you end up with people, going off into romantic relationships with people who are quite weird. Because you think, oh, you're like me, you're weird like me. But half the time they're not. Half the time they can be sociopathic. I'll go on about my relationships to the end of days, but there have been some relationships there that were very toxic that I went into because I thought this person's weird like me. They weren't. They were weird but in a mean way. Or they were just, I wanted them to be like me and they weren't. So that's the difficulty, is that you find yourself vulnerable socially, you find yourself vulnerable at work, and then also you have that whole constant churn of why am I not quite there even though I'm doing all the right things?
Yeah, on that point, when you have ADHD, you're much more likely to have blame yourself for problems when actually it's like external locus of control. You actually attribute your success or failure or whatever. It's like your success it's down to chance. It's not actually me, I didn't do it right. And I actually find myself, whenever there's a mistake at work, I instantly assume it's my fault because
and then you have,
it's this whole paranoid world you built up about yourself because you're so aware you're different. And people are used to blaming you because you're a bit bubbly out there, whatever. And it all sort of narrows down to you feeling very self-conscious as well.
It's exhausting. It's and also as a bloke as well, the expectations on us as individuals are different. But like you were saying before about your school days and how mine was slightly different. I was always the odd one. I wasn't, but I was loved, but I was odd. But then sometimes that love isn't enough. You kind of want everyone to like you. You want to be understood by everybody, but you can't be understood because you don't understand yourself. And it's exhausting. But sorry, I can't remember what you were saying.
We were talking about the same thing.
Good. All right.
I think we're still on track. I'm going to refer to our post-it notes. Literally, done that. No. Oh, we smashed that.
Oh, we smashed all of them. Okay, good. All right, producer, we need more.
Give us more.
Than that one. Yeah. Okay. So culture. It's just going back to culture. Sorry. So you look at us bouncing around. See, we're on the same wavelength, and this is why Willow and I got on from the minute we met.
We're vibing at a party.
Absolutely.
So
sit there, both the drunkest in the room.
Before you get there, because I know we just keep going.
Sorry.
Off point.
But
I'm a bitch about it.
So you got diagnosed. Who do you speak to a doctor? How does?
I found an ADHD nurse called it's called ADHD Archie. His name's actually Archie, but he runs the ADHD clinic in Guildford. And he's a top bloke, really nice guy, laughs a lot at my jokes, so charged me 150 quid a fucking hour. But yeah, he diagnosed me, he got me all sorted out, and that was fine, but he was the cheapest I could find. So mental health is expensive. So finding out that you're with, and this is the whole fucked up thing, this should be free.
Yeah.
It should be free to get checked properly. If you do it on the NHS, you're waiting 6-7 months, and obviously you don't have the time for that shit. I've got life to lead here. I don't want to sit around for 6 months finding out why I got 5 from 4 jobs, even though I didn't do anything wrong. It's just fucking weird. And I think though that after a while you do fall out of love with society, and you start to resent it, and that's what leads to people who are ADHD. People are more likely to be in jail. We're more likely to be drug addicts. We're more likely to disassociate from society because it doesn't accept us, not the other way around. And then there's this whole artificial effort to be more accepting of people with ADHD. But the fact is that I'm not going to employ somebody in a wheelchair if it means I now have to make my entire building wheelchair friendly just for them. And when I've got another option, which is somebody who's just as good, who is able-bodied. So you're not, if you're a journalist trying to do ADHD stuff, the instant thing that people think is that stigma of he can't do this job because of his brainwaves. The way his brain works means that he's not going to be able to do this job. I won't hire him. And that's what's fucked up, because it's like I'm going to automatically be disqualified from things that I'm good at. You know, like there's nobody thinks about the positive sides of it, like the fact that if there was a lead, I would be a bloodhound on it. I'm relentlessly in pursuit of people. For example, when my motorbike got stolen, I found the guy's address. It's 17 Connaught Way in Merseyside. In Birkenhead. I'm gonna find you, little cunt.
We're coming for you.
Yeah, I told the police that within 3 days. They hadn't even bothered putting an officer on it. I had footage, I had everything, because I was upset, because I had that hyper focus, because I've got the skills to find people, because I've got the skills to pursue something that upsets me.
And you normally are more motivated, like it's the energy you have from the ADHD can sort of give you this relentless pursuit of something.
Yeah, I won't sleep.
Like in my job, it's quite useful because I'm on multiple tasks, which is another thing ADHD people are good at. I'm quite good at I keep on hammering away at people, and other people get a bit awkward from that. It's like the British culture thing, like, oh, I don't want to ask people to do things.
So
I just don't care. It's like, it's my job. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to keep on going, and that's what actually makes me good at my job, because I just relentlessly do it. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And like dealing with it with PR people as well is the same. It's like, why is it that if I want something, I want it done? Why is it the expectations on me are that everything should be done right now, and yet you go to people who you need to help you, and they're just not under that pressure. They always get paid more than us.
Yeah, it's
but we're more efficient.
Is it? I think it's a lot of the facade thing, as we were saying. They look more competent on the surface, but they're just they're bland.
And they're boring. And it's just that boring people like boring people. And there's a lot of boring people.
There's a lot of boring.
Very boring. And then they're like, oh, you're great. You're so funny. Like, you know, look at all these people we just named before, like Johnny Depp, Justin Timberlake. Everyone fucking worships them. They worship people who are different from them because they're put in that right light, and all their insecurities and all that sort of bits that kind of mess with you up. And like, one of the things I do is I project that I'm, like, what I'm dealing with is I will project that and amplify it. So if I'm happy, the whole room just lights up. If I'm sad, I'll drag it all down. You know, like, but if I'm like worried, or if I'm like, you know, or something like that, or if I'm worried, if I'm anxious, then it makes everyone else anxious, and therefore they stop trusting me. So we struggle a lot with people trusting us. If you accuse me of something, I'm gonna worry that I've not remembered that detail. And that's something that my first girlfriend, who you knew, she used to monopolise on that a lot, because I couldn't fill in those gaps, and therefore I got gaslit. God. Yeah, and then it also made me look guilty, and then I'd feel guilty. So, and then because I was felt guilty, I'd start acting guilty, and then it looked like I was more guilty, and it would reinforce her point, to the point whereby it actually was okay for her to abuse me because I would allow that. And she was a cunt.
She's a cunt.
She's a complete cunt. But, you know, she's a very successful cunt. She's now the director, or at least the last time I checked, she's the director of a digital company. And
bullshit.
Yeah, it's a bit. I think we just identified her there, but you know, fuck it. Come at me. Go on, bring the lawsuit. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, time wise,
I give a fuck. I give a fuck for anybody.
I don't give a fuck. Come at me, bro.
Yeah, come at me, bro. I know where you live. Right. Or I'll find you in 3 days.
Determine if any lawsuit these two are paying. I give all the fucks. If I have a spare fuck, I'll give it.
Alright, so what do you want to talk about next?
What's going on?
Go on, bring us another question. We're a little bit on time though.
Well, we're over the 30-minute mark, so I don't know what.
Fuck it, we're going to 45. Let's go.
We're going to 45.
Yeah, let's do it.
Right, so are you on the need medication?
I am. I take 30 milligrams of Advance, but I tried a few other ones as well. It takes a while to get used to it. It does give you anxiety. There are side effects. You can't. I mean, right now I'm not on any at the moment because I chose not to because I'm drinking, but also because I'm meeting my new girlfriend's friends soon. So
what are the side effects?
Well, dehydration's one of them. You also have the fact that it kind of dampens who you are. So this is the fucked up thing. I have to dampen who I am and my emotional range so that I can fit in with society and focus on mundane tasks in order to provide something for people. It does help you with concentration. Like, for example, there's a palpable difference between my work output if I'm on the medication versus not. I will clean the house differently, but with ADHD, you deal with the problem that's directly in front of you. So, for example, if I walk through a door, I'll forget what I'm doing, but I'll start doing different tasks. So everything kind of comes together at the end, but it's more like it's more like a sort of wave rather than.
I mean, it's all bitty, isn't it? You'll do this and you do that, then you do that, and then you're like, oh shit, I was actually meaning to do task A, so I'll go back to that, and then it's all over the place.
Yeah, and that's how I would have. That's what would affect me at work when my phone would ring. I'd deal with that phone call, do that interview, and then put the phone down, and then start tapping up that interview, and then realise that, and then I'd be like, oh, I need to check something else, check it on a different screen, and then I'd be doing that other task. So I would end up producing 4 articles at once rather than.
Spend the time to do one properly.
Well, I mean, they'd all be done properly. They'd all be overdone as well because I'd be hyper focused and make sure that it was perfect. Right. But then it would get edited down. It would be a complete waste of time. Right. I'd waste like 3-4 hours of my time just because I wasn't doing it to the level that I was told to.
Do you think if you were able to just be focused, do you think you get further in life? How do you feel that this has affected your life?
I think that if I'd been diagnosed earlier, then it would have made a lot more sense. I would have been less like... There were certain battles I shouldn't have had to fight, and I did have to fight them, and they took a lot out of me. They changed my personality, they changed my expectations.
You said you always said that you've been misdiagnosed. Were you diagnosed with anything?
When I was 9, they checked me. One person said I had it, the other person said I didn't. Right. My mum and dad were like... My mum and dad, obviously, my mum was a former teacher. She was like... She'd seen kids on Ritalin, and her words were that they go from being this delightful, brilliant, fun child, then they dose them up with Ritalin, and the next thing you see is they're just a potato.
That's very sad. Do you think that there should be another system for these type of kids that growing up where that they can identify?
Yeah, there is. It's there's the Montserrat schools, I think. But
are they the ones that they just go do creative? Like you can choose whatever subject you want. And they go do like outdoors
Yeah, there's one in Wembley. I know about that. I know that this girl with ADHD that I talked to, she's a surgeon now, and there's a surgeon with ADHD called Holly, and she's brilliant.
How does this work?
I don't actually know. I didn't look into it.
I think it'd be great if they'd be able to like look at you from your. Although that can kind of put everybody in a box, but I mean, I do think it'd be great if they'd be able to identify when you're very young that you've got ADHD. You're not meant to be sat in a classroom or go in the office. You're not supposed to do that. Let's get you doing a bunch of creative stuff and see.
Yeah, but you're already then like put in the box. But also,
I know.
But it depends on the individual stream. So, for example, I wanted to be a doctor when I was 14, 15. But that's because I wanted to be a plastic surgeon, so you had a sexy, cool life. I've met plastic surgeons. Yeah, nipped up. Fucking responsible for the crash of my career. And I ended up doing chemistry because that's how you become it. But chemistry's fucking boring. Yeah. So I've ended up with this academic issue, but then we wouldn't have met if I hadn't. Yeah. And I think though that I could have been a very different position I am now, where I own 2 businesses. I have, I've got shit published throughout the world. I've been very successful in my own right, but not paid for it.
Can I just ask you what GCSEs you did?
Did 11 GCSEs, so I got history, chemistry, physics, not psychology, I did that for A-level. I did 11 of them, so RE, geography, history, said that already, maths, I did triple science, which is all 3 separately, and then I did drama. I got a B for that.
What?
Weird, I know.
Are you kidding? Drama.
I could have literally talked about what my life was.
Yeah, literally.
And it would have been better than the shit play of Alan Van. Oh god! And there was this twat who'd been to theatre school twice, and she was like, "Oh no!" And she was so over the top, it made the rest of us just be like, "Oh, it's
that's cringy."
Embarrassing.
Sorry, stop it.
It was awful.
So what else?
Oh, sorry. Whoops. Yeah, nice try.
I feel like that was 11.
Yeah, that felt like 11.
I can't remember. Don't ask me mine. I can't. I know it's just
yesterday.
like really.
Yeah, because applying to be paramedic, and it's like they did that, and it was like, what the fuck.
I don't remember what I got.
Any of those exam boards are right because I could not be fucked to go to the drawing.
They're not going to find out. Just put where else.
It's like, what, masters? Fuck you. Yeah. I've done more than just that. I've got a 10-year career. Give me something.
What else?
What else? What do you mean?
GCSEs.
Oh, come on.
History, geography, triple science.
This is horrible.
Drama, RE, English. You must have done English, maths.
English languages. Okay, that's what's no, I think we've done 11.
Let the man be. He can't think about it.
How did you do in them?
2 A stars, 4 A's, 4 B's, and a C in chemistry. And
that's considerably.
I did great, but the thing is, though, the revising, they just say revise, and I would sit there and I'd read the entire page. I'd do all the little bits and bobs, and I was like, yeah, I'll remember that because I can see it now. Pop, gone.
So do you want to know what?
Complete waste of 3 weeks.
So I did 6 GCSEs, and I got, what did I get? 2 D's, 2 E's, and an F and a D.
And you make more money than I do.
Yeah.
I've got A levels. I've got master's degrees. I've got everything.
But to be fair, like to clean that up, I did go to college and I did retake most of my things, and then I went to university afterwards. So it's not like that's how you get through life.
Yeah, no, but I mean, you had to work hard, but you came from a disadvantaged background, and that's a very different thing. Because I've got all the advantages in the world. I am from Surrey. I've got a really good education. I've been really lucky throughout life, but I make fuck all. Like, I make an embarrassing little amount of money considering what I've actually achieved. I mean, like, I've got a column in the top magazine, mental health magazine in the world. I've got like fucking, like I write for the Independent, the Sun, the Washington Post is not Washington Post, whoops, but like Deutsche Welle. I've changed EU law. All this
You're a big man in the newspaper world.
Well, I'm not. I'm really not. But my point is, though, that I've been successful in my own right, but I've been in jobs that have just not had that.
Do you think there's certain jobs where they just ask for too much qualification and credentials?
Oh, they all the time.
They don't want to pay you the money that it takes you to do it.
No, it's going to be a competitive salary. Yeah, walk away.
What is the point of getting you to do all of this qualification, get all this work experience, and then they're going to pay you fuck all?
Yeah, it's like 24 grand. And then they say, oh yeah, it's an internship, by the way, which means we have to say, it's just, I'm sick of being ripped off by society.
So I've had that same issue as well, because I did business management. I also did film studies. So in the last few years, I've been trying to get back into the more film side. And I've been looking at the salaries compared to what I do now.
That's a joke.
It is
creative salary.
Creative sector.
They'll use it and they'll make so much money off of your back. And they will pay you fuck all.
It's because they're like, oh, you're having fun while you're doing your job, so you better be grateful.
It's interesting, like, no. Therefore you're okay. Yeah, no, it takes talent, you can't.
I've had to do so much work for free, just for fuck all, or barely any money.
Or charity or whatever. And it's like, look good on your CV. No, it won't. Your company's going to only be okay if I'm good at what I do. Yeah. So who the fuck's profiting from that? I'm sick of this shit. Like, okay, so, like at the Sun, and I've said this before, 120 quid a shift. They make you do up to 8 or 9 stories that are on a national level, and if you fuck up once, they drop you like that. It's just brutal, and there's no point. And everyone, I think there's an entire... It's completely affected the way I see the world, because we're at the top level getting paid fuck all, and then as soon as someone gets an award for it, which we deserved, so the people who actually wrote it, who were freelancers, who were completely disposable, we were the ones who wrote this fucking award-winning blog, coronavirus blog, when I was working on it. We're the ones who put in the ideas. We're the ones who figured out the system, how it works, so we can put pictures up there, so we can, we're supplying something every 7 minutes. We get paid fuck all. And the paper takes the accolade that we weren't named as individuals. The editors, who were full-time, were named as individuals. They had nothing to do with it.
This is just capitalism at this point, isn't it? We're just like, we're ripping into
society. And it's our entire generation. And we've talked about housing before and everything like that. But when you see it in its entirety, everyone gets uncomfortable about you telling the truth. And that's exhausting. And then you end up being a maverick, or you end up being seen as a bit out of order.
That's another thing, actually, related to ADHD, is actually you will speak your mind.
Exactly, be honest.
And because... exactly, because I love being honest. I like being blunt, because I don't like to lie to people. It's just not worth it. But the problem is, nobody else puts themselves out there. So you're like, you put yourself out there, and people can just easily shoot you down and be like, I stand up for so many of my friends, and they won't stand up for themselves. But then you get shot down because you've actually said something, and then
it gets personal so quickly.
Yeah, well, it's actually you're just trying to have a constructive conversation, but people say it's aggressive.
Why do people not say what they think?
I don't know. It's weird.
Why are we weird for just saying, okay, what do you think? I think this is stupid. Oh, now you've upset everybody. No, we haven't. You're just in charge, and therefore we're supposed to respect that. But you don't respect us. Why should we respect you?
It's like not respecting a hierarchy is something.
But the thing is, people at the top are power-hungry people who are sociopaths in general. Like, we know that more CEOs are psychopaths than any other profession. And yet we're supposed to, somehow think that that's the way to go. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, what the actual fuck? And yet the whole of society has been convinced now this is how we should live our lives. Well, actually, no. You know what? There's nothing to stop us from going to a CEO's house, breaking in on him, beating the shit out of him, and robbing him. I mean, why would we not? Like, he's got more money than we have. But Jeff Bezos, I mean, if like 500 people showed up at his mansion while he was in there, we can rob the cunt. Easy. Yeah. Why not? Why should...
I back us. Let's go now. Let's just go.
Fuck yeah. I mean, I can't afford a flight. Can you?
No. Marlon, you got any money?
Come on. Make the money. Yeah, he's always broke.
Structure us, Marlon. We need structure. We're losing it.
Oh yeah, structure.
Anyway, we need the money though.
We need a money guy.
Yeah.
So our next guest, ladies and gentlemen, will be the money guy. Jeff Bezos.
Andy.
Yeah, Andy will be useful. I'm going to drag him into this.
That's less for other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should probably not name names. Anyway,
shit.
all right, sorry. Another question, please, Mama.
What else do I have about that?
We had notes.
How do you think that
we no longer have notes. We have like little paper airplanes.
Airplane.
You go on.
Sorry.
So what, like, in terms of like having your medication, what like impact does that have? You say you take it all the time.
I use it when I need to. When I know that I've got a serious. When I need executive function, that's when I use it. And to be fair, it's useful for that. This morning, the reason I was late is because
I knew it wasn't the Uber.
It was the Uber. No, it wasn't the Uber. It was me. No. It was just I woke up at 10:30 thinking I'd be out the door in half an hour. Saw the kitchen was a mess. Ran around, tidied the kitchen, and then it was another 20 minutes. And I was like, okay, shit. I need to have breakfast as well, otherwise I'm going to look like shit because I'm drinking later. So I went and made a bit of an elaborate breakfast, couldn't find any bread. So I made spinach, like all that other shit. And then didn't really want it, so didn't want it by the time I finished cooking it. I had to have a shower, but I couldn't go shower because of that. It took me 20 minutes to make a coffee this morning because I was too busy doing laundry as well at the same time. So
this is why Leslie's like 15 minutes late.
Well, it was an hour late.
5-0.
5-0. Yeah, it took me ages. But then again, it also took fucking ages to set up the microphones, man. You had all day.
So we had a bit of technical difficulties. I did my job, found the technical difficulty, and we're now rolling.
Yeah, we're
anyway, we're late for so I think that when I take the tablet, the fact is though that I don't know what that tablet's doing to my body or my brain. No one knows what the actual science behind it is, but we know that this thing will make you executive function better. It turns out if we've got different brands, then that changes the effect. So I went from one brand to another, which had the same exact chemical, the active ingredient, but one of them gave me anxiety, the other one didn't.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because it's quite likely to give you anxiety, isn't it?
Yeah, and then you have to take other tablets on top of that to reduce your anxiety.
How many tablets are you taking?
I take one tablet a day, which is 30 milligrams. But I also have chill pills to reduce anxiety should I have it. I also know that I need to exercise at least once a week properly. Right. Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy. I know that people with ADHD tend to exercise a lot.
Oh, yeah. Gym every day, man.
Mm-hmm. You have to, otherwise you go crazy. Or you go down the drug route, which is like taking weed or booze or whatever, and you destroy your body. I mean, I probably smoke or drink way too much consistently throughout my life because of me trying to just kind of change.
It's like, is it like trying to keep yourself busy as well? Because that's what I find. It's because I've got so much energy. It's like I need to dispel this elsewhere. Like I do rugby now, which has been amazing for it because it's so much energy. But yeah, it's just kind of trying to keep yourself busy all the time because you've got so much energy. As
a kid, we would be in the swimming. We would be swimming 6 hours, 8 hours a week competitively, and I would just go up and down. I got bored of shit. So we'd start playing around and then get in trouble and then we get kicked out. Yeah. So it was a lot like that, but I think that as an adult, it's that self-discipline, which is again a problem, is that whole getting started with tasks is a huge thing that ADHD people struggle with. Once we're in, we're done. I mean, I'll go to the gym, and unless I have an appointment or a reason to be there, I won't go. I will just not. I will try with all the goodwill in the world, and it is all the goodwill in the world. I'll plan for days, but I just won't do it because it's starting it, and you're like this little brain block that just goes. No.
So do you find like organisation difficult organisation?
No, it just means you have to do a lot at certain times, sit down and do it. So getting my calendar sorted out, I spent Monday doing that, and I sorted out my time.
Yeah, just thinking about it, you are quite organised. I remember one time when we were planning to do last season of the podcast, you sent me a calendar. I'm like, why the fuck are you sending me a calendar? Just tell me when you're free.
To-do lists.
I'm like, who has a calendar of shit
That's
to do?
the thing. It's like I think. It is sometimes a symptom to be like very disorganised, but I'm actually quite organised as well. Yeah. But I actually find it's like, so all the sensory stuff when you're out in Thailand, it's too much. Like I find other people's disorganisation stressful.
Oh, fuck.
So it's like
my girlfriend's always late.
And I find that really stressful because it's like, look, I can't manage you. Like I've got to do it.
Yeah.
And all this stuff, and I find like it's another trigger as well. Like other people's mess, I can be messy, but other people are messy.
It does my head in.
So exactly.
Yeah, it's my mess is fine because I know where everything is. But if you fuck it up, I will kill you.
Yeah.
And it's not OCD or anything like that.
Would you consider yourself like a messy person or really tidy
I'm not.
person?
So basically, I thought I was a tidy person, and then my boyfriend was like, basically, I throw everything in a cupboard, I'll close the door, and then everything so it looks tidy, and it'll be like, whoa, and then you open it, and then it all unravels, and like I squirrel things.
It's like a conversation in a way.
But literally, it's like so. to you it's organised and it's fine. To other people it might not seem like that, but you need to keep your head quiet in a way. So it's like you put things away.
Yeah, we know where everything is, even when it's messy, because it's the same.
Right.
It's everything's got a place, but it's just it looks messy to other people. Like my ex-housemate, she has OCD. Well, she doesn't have it, but she has certain behaviours that are akin to OCD, and and she couldn't live with me. She hated it, because of little things.
OCD can be quite bad. Like when you disrupt their organisation, it does really mess with them. I remember a few instances. So I'll tell you about them. There's one guy I lived with at uni. We called him Shadow.
Oh, Shadow! Love Shadow. Hi, Shadow.
So he has OCD. You have to have everything in the right place.
Yep.
So I'm a bit mean sometimes. So every time I used to hang out in his room, I'll be just like,
move a bit.
I just occasionally I'll move something from left to right, and he always knows. So there's one time I told the guys that his room's unlocked. He went to the gym, unlocked his room. So the guys, I went back into my room. I told the guys that I went back into my room, heard a commotion, and there was throwing toilet paper.
Fucking hell.
They completely wrecked his room. He came back and he was so angry. He hit the roof. He wanted to punch somebody in the face. That's how angry. He's a big 6'4" rugby guy.
You could have had him.
He was a big fella.
Yeah, he really wanted to hurt somebody.
He was lovely though.
Yeah.
I mean, we all hated him, but he was lovely.
After like a few hours, he calmed down. Like, it was pretty funny. But
it was really funny. It was a shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
But actually, like on that, I actually have OCD, but not the sort of like organisation cleanliness side. A lot of it's to do with rituals as well.
Yeah.
So, and there is a link between ADHD and OCD. It's kind of like, I think it works because it's keeping my mind busy. Like, I have to tap certain things 4 times, and if I don't tap it, and if I don't tap it right, I then have to like do it again. Yeah. And then like sometimes if I walk through, say, a doorway, I have to think like a happy thought, whatever. If I don't, walk back through the doorway, do it again. So it's like, I think it comes back to like people don't necessarily understand everything to do with ADHD. People don't necessarily understand everything to do with OCD, and it all manifests in very different, really weird ways.
So do you find that you have to finish things?
Yeah.
If I went like to do that.
Oh yeah, like.
And then it's left it like that.
Yeah, and it's like, it needs to be different, or like, it's just like, like Tim annoys me all the time. He like pushes my nose down, and I have to go like that, and it's like, oh, you're like triggering me now. But it's like, it's really interesting, isn't it? How like I think with ADHD you're likely to have other sort of like mental health,
more vulnerable to depression, anxiety. There's RSD, which is kind of like depression, but it's tough. And then you've got other things. What else? Down days, they're horrible. What else?
Well, I think it's like the paranoia, a bit like OCD. Yeah.
I've been diagnosed with depression like 7 times, anxiety 5, I think. But that's because we didn't know I had ADHD. But it doesn't make it any less relevant. When I was being sacked from my local business local job, I was diagnosed with extreme anxiety, extreme depression because I was also going through a breakup, and they knew that, and they still went ahead, bastards. Fuck them. Say that I need a job from them tomorrow. But anyway, so it comes hand in hand. Your OCD, it just makes us I think it's because we've got a bigger scope of what can happen. Therefore, there's a bigger scope of what could go wrong. So it's not a necessarily negative thing. It's just that like most people think in this sort of narrow lane. But as I've described before,
there's extremes. I think.
We're on the edges a lot more often, and I think that's what the drugs are about. They're about reducing those edges so you think like everyone else and conform, which is horrible. I don't want to conform, so I didn't take it today.
So before we get out there, I just want to ask, like each of you, what's some advice you'd like to give somebody with who thinks they might have ADHD?
Well, okay, I actually talked to this bloke who I met on the internet recently about it. Talk to people who do. There's lots of communities. We love talking to people. Obviously, we're a very chatty bunch. Do check an official website. Don't do a BuzzFeed test if you can help it. Check through to make sure that you understand it. Talk to your family, the close ones, people who actually know who you are. My brother, when I did my official check, my brother did the counter test to make sure that I wasn't making shit up. And they were like, okay, yeah, we'll take that on. And they check you for a range of stuff as well, like autism, depression, blah 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 blah. Everything on the DSM register. So also, the neurodivergency thing as well. I mean, they're checking for everything. So. Also, autism comes in hand with ADHD, but we don't have that, I don't think. No. Anyway, so what else? I would say, check it out. Don't take it seriously, because you probably don't have it, or you do. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It doesn't matter. Maybe you've got bits of it. Maybe there are bits. If you're looking at something, then you're probably going to link it to certain events, and that might not necessarily be true. So make sure you've got a second opinion of somebody who loves you and cares about you, but also knows you well enough to tell you that you're full of shit.
Right.
Also, I would say stop blaming yourself for shit that you can't help. Like, yeah, fine. It's but then again, don't not take responsibility for it. So there's a difference between being like, you know, like, don't take too much responsibility is what I'm saying. Because I know that every time I have a breakup, I take the full blame. And yet these other people are using that to be able to hate me and just walk away and not blame themselves. And that's a very normal thing to want to do. You know, he was a bastard. He said he was being a bastard. Therefore, he's the bastard. I'm right. I can get on with my life. He's fucked and fuck him. That's the way it works. But instead of taking that blame and that pain and all of that pressure, you have to kind of come to the point. It takes a long time where you just say, well, actually, now fuck him. Because you're not to blame as much as other people want to blame you. It's not your fault. We make very easy scapegoats because we're too willing to be the scapegoat.
So yeah, like my bit of advice, basically, like Les has covered most of it, but it would be like actually be quite proud of it, because now when you like self-diagnose or whatever, it makes a lot of sense to you, and you can actually realise like, wow, that is a great thing. Like, I'm happy to be different, and like we are all different, unique, and it's absolutely amazing.
We're actual snowflakes.
And actually, yeah, and you can actually just realise what are your strengths. It helps you. It actually empowers you a bit because you realise what you're good at. It's actually okay if you're not good at that, because fucking hell, it's something wrong with your brain, mate. Like, anyway. Just it's fine. Exactly. So it's just like you actually. I think it helps me sort of find my niche and be sort of like a lot more confident about what I want to do, because I know it's like all legitimate.
You as well. Yeah. Like, I mean, because otherwise you end up going down all these little rabbit holes and different things that you kind of that either look enticing and aren't, or you know, and you end up finding boring, but you're not sure why. Because I think one of the things that we skip B. We know A, we know C. We always skip B. So the method, you know, like in the actual mundanity.
There is no method, just whatever works.
Yeah,
at the moment.
Exactly.
Like,
get around it, get through it. I don't know, from A to B, and everyone hates that. Everyone hates it because it's like, look at you being creative, you bastard. You know, like, it didn't work that well.
You're not following a formula.
It took me 12 seconds to come up with this plan. And it was better than yours. I don't like it. It was better than my plan.
Willow, can I ask you why you're only self-diagnosing? Are you planning to get clinically diagnosed?
I mean, like, first it's like the money side, and secondly, I don't know what would it really do to help me. I think because I think it is a spectrum, and I don't think mine is extreme as much. Like it may do, but I also think it depends. Like if it started affecting my life really badly, I think I would. But at the moment, I'm like really happy where I am, and I think it's fine. But like,
you won't. He's a lovely guy.
Yeah, Tim's gonna be watching
Tim. Hey Tim.
But yeah, I don't think it's like there's not much use in it. I think I just wish more girls got diagnosed early at school because it's very overlooked.
Actually. Yeah, and also more lads as adults, because a man with adult ADHD is, according to ADHD Archer, a unicorn, which it turns out is also a thing about sex, but I didn't know that until I started saying it, broadcasting it openly.
So Will, I forgot to ask, how did you do in school?
I think I did I got quite similar GCSEs. I think you had like 1 A star, quite a lot of A's, and then just some B's. In school, like in terms of like disruptiveness or whatever, I was thrown out a lot. Like detentions did happen a lot, but I think the teachers did like me though, because they saw that I was like I would do good work, but it was just if I decided I didn't like something, like in French, I just would not. I would like I'm not doing it, sorry. And I'd be quite honest with my French teacher. She'd throw me out, and she'd be like, why aren't you focusing? I'd be like, I just don't like French, miss, sorry. And she's like, okay, fair enough. Because it's like just very blunt to the point. So it's
really
like
understandable.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you're just being an adult. So I think at school, like I did well at the things I liked. If I didn't like them, didn't do well at them, and just accepted that.
I was always kind of driven by I think my parents were always like, you know, like they instilled in me never quit. Never quit. Even if I hated something, I would never quit. You know, I still won't. I'm a very resilient person. It's probably why most of my relationships ends in flames when it really burns to the ground, not when it's quite obvious it's not going to work. Anyway, point isn't it's about there was something you said there that I couldn't.
So I was talking about like teachers respected saying.
Yeah, I mean, I was never really like that. I always wanted to kind of come towards an end game, but I would always ignore the fact that I'd fucked stuff up because I wasn't interested in it and think of it as just having a bad day or something like that, because I knew that I was clever. But like chemistry, for example, I mean, my chemistry teacher told me that he once was on his knees begging me to understand the concept of a covalent bond in front of the whole class, which was hilarious for everybody else. But the truth is, I did not get it because it was fucking boring. You know, I just didn't get it. And he was like, but he told me that if I got an A in chemistry, he would let me blow up his entire classroom and teach me how to do it. And he was one of my favourite teachers, Mr. Loader, top lad. Loved him.
Good lad.
Really good guy. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of the relationship I had with teachers. Was it was They loved me. They really did. A lot of them did.
Because they saw you weren't being like some kids are just nasty and disrupt for disruption's sake, but you're just doing it because it's who you are, and they know
a bit of character, a little bit of love, and a lot of energy and goodness. And I think that as a teacher as well, teaching kids like that, they're always my favourites. I loved them so much, like so much. There was these kids who used to jump up. Like I had this class on last lesson on Friday. I was exhausted. I'd done 45 of these lessons in a fucking row. I was dead. And I would get in there, and at one point I was just, like that point where you're like, fuck it, I'm going to go blunt. It's like I'm going in and I'm not losing this one up. Sorry, too far. But that's it. That's another thing. Where's the fucking line? Why does no one tell you where the line is until you don't?
But who creates the line? Fuck it.
Who's in charge of the line? Like, mate. Fuck you and your offended little sensibilities, Snowflake. I went out with a girl who was like, the line is everywhere, and like she's trapped by the line.
Like, I think that's very interesting that you mentioned that. I think like people that don't have ADHD kind of know where the line is through social cues, and we can read. Okay, I can't go that far, but I guess with you, like I've known you for like a long time, and it's just like you always push that line. Like, I remember. I
don't know where it is. I
remember like 2 years ago, me and you went to one of our friends' wedding. And he was like, I think he had to like give you instructions of what not to do at this wedding.
Can't talk about being an arranged wedding.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not in front of the bride.
He's with his family, his religious family. He's like, he was worried about you, and he had another friend that's sort of like you as well.
Yeah, we got pulled over.
Yeah, and it's like
quiet word was had, and then he told us where the free bar was.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the rest of us, is that I know you guys can switch your personality, tone it down a little bit, but Lev,
me and a guy called Crazy Pete, which is a bit insulting.
Yeah. Lev, you knew that you have no control over your personality.
Oh, Les, I'm cycling.
Go on.
Yeah, so it's just interesting like that. So yeah, I think ordinary people sort of just know where that boundary is. You just don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, someone could tell us outright what the fuck's going on. I mean, like, it's not that we're trying to upset anybody, but if you laugh while I'm talking, or if you're entertained by me, then I'll continue to try to entertain you.
It actually hypes you up a bit as well, so it's just like, oh, okay, let's go.
But then the thing is, though, that mental exhaustion, this is what happens at parties, but I noticed it at the party, last party I was at with you, was I would tell stories and I'd make everyone laugh, and then after that, I'm like, okay, well, my role is done. I've done with my audience, and then I just retreat to my phone, and it looks like I'm not interested in them.
Oh, no, you get exhausted.
I'm just mentally exhausted. Yeah. I'm just like, I'm just going to retreat to somewhere safe and text somebody back. That was kind of thing that was happening.
I find that I actually need breaks at parties. I enjoy not being centre of attention, but I enjoy telling a story. But actually, I'm like, okay, I just need 5 minutes, just be like, oh, that was quite a lot, but that was nice, and then go back and you enjoy it a lot more than being like constantly just barraged all the time, because it is overstimulation, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like lots of things going on, and you hear every single one of them. I'm listening to 3 conversations at the same time.
Yes.
And like, and like your social butterfly, because it's like, oh, that one's more interesting than what's going on over here, and you realise you've been rude.
You're constantly thinking, actually, is there sort of like, oh, should I go there? Should I go there? You're not actually.
Mate, I could not get through my student union to get to the toilet. It took me half an hour. It was a 30-second walk. It would take me half an hour because there'd be loads of conversations. I'd know everybody because I'd gone and butted in on their conversations randomly in Freshers Week. So I'd know everyone a little bit, but not that well, except for my core group, who I was so loyal to. That's the other thing. With ADHD, you are loyal. Like, there's loyalty and there's like us.
Like, I remember going on nights out with you. Like you're quite talkative. You just like we just see you. You just be talking to a group of strangers and that. What's going on there?
I'd accidentally chat people up at the bar. I used to get in trouble with that a lot. Thank you for saving my ass on a few of those. Because Marlon, I don't know if you can see, he's 6'7", 6'6". So I'd be at the bar getting a round of drinks because Marlon used to follow me around.
Well, I was in the same group with you.
Yeah. So no, we didn't do my pint, your pint thing. It was like every time I went near a bar, and Marlon was like, "There's something in it for me."
Yeah. So we used to live together, and we used to like go out together with about a group of probably 10 people.
Yeah.
I was just following Led around.
Yeah, I mean, it would have looked a little bit like the old colonial days. This is my servant. He's huge. He's fantastic. I love him.
The good old days.
Yeah, the good old days. Back in the day, I was not even alive for, so you can't call me racist. It's a historical.
In my grandfather's day.
My granddad. We were gardeners. I don't know. Someone tried that shit with me the other day. It's like, yeah, you've come from a family of racists. I'm like, they were gardeners in Cornwall. Probably. I mean, what do you fucking want?
You just have some employees that work there for free.
Well, I know, but I'm sorry, but the name Steve must have been either A, we got huge dicks, which I hope it was, or B, it was like the fact that we were stable people. So obviously we've never really been that high up. I mean, a few of my relatives were commanders in the Navy.
Unfortunately, I've seen you naked, so I doubt you were.
Well, I've seen you naked, it wasn't that impressive either. So, I was sitting there, I was like, well, it isn't a stereotype. Okay, so...
Anyway.
The line people. What was the question? What were we talking about before we got on to who's got a bigger penis?
Well, that's clearly me, but...
Yeah, shut up. Probably, actually, I don't know. I mean, it's just... Okay, too much questions. But yeah, I'd be at the bar and I'd just get chatting to the girl next to me because there was somebody around me. And the boyfriend would always come in, like, he was always an ugly fuck, but probably a bit bigger than me. Be like, yeah, what are you trying to say? Hey, why don't you talk to both of us? Kind of thing, like the jealous bullshit you get at uni. And Marlon would come along and was like, is there a problem? Apparently not.
Actually,
suddenly never.
Yeah. Actually never said anything.
Yeah, you just stood there posing.
Like,
I didn't even know what was going on. I was standing there.
These little like red glasses and the little rows along them because you could see through that shit. Look like you're going around with shutters on. Fucking twat.
I was cool. I was very cool.
Mate, of other pictures, we were not cool.
I was always cool.
Yeah, I was fucking wasted most of it.
I showed the pictures of me back in uni. I probably put it up in the video.
Don't.
And I showed my sister-in-law. She's like, you look like Will Smith in that Fresh Prince. Like,
oh
shit! You didn't have hair back then either. Like, as us going around with the fucking hair that made us look like parrots. Like we got the emo fringe, and then you got spiked up.
Really?
Yeah, it was 2000. Yeah, it was 2010s, mate. It was on.
Oh my god.
I had hair, but nobody ever saw my head. I always wore a hat.
That's a solution.
That's why they took my hair away. They're like.
You had hair when I met you?
I had hair.
Did you?
Yeah.
I can't imagine you with hair.
Yeah, I was wearing a hat every time you saw me.
Well, that's probably why. Why is my voice like this?
I don't know.
Anyway, right, we're talking too much. Come on.
But so I used to wear a hat, and then they're like, yeah, you don't need hair, so.
You don't need it. Take it away.
They decided that for you.
Yeah, they decided. They're like,
who's they?
They. God.
God, you've got a better hairline than me though.
It's weird. I still have a hairline, but my hair's thin. It's weird. Really weird.
No, I'm born. It comes out you. It comes out.
I've got great hairline.
Yeah, I look like an egg in photos now, but in reality, I'm not that bad.
It's weird. My hairline did not move. Just my hair just went.
So weird. So weird. Anyway, right, we're getting on to a different topic. Let's get back to ADHD.
ADHD.
Yeah, I think.
ADHD me.
Anything else you want to add? Can't remember.
I feel like we've covered most of it.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what I've wanted to say. I feel like we've got it off the chest.
It's
nice.
Really?
Yeah,
oh, it's been lovely.
I know, right? I'm supposed to be at a thing now. But yeah, no, but it's a tough road. But I think that it's just because there's no road there, and I think that.
Do you think they think that there's enough done for people with ADHD?
Oh fuck no.
Because
you can't teach stupid, and you can't go up against money. And the fact is that people with ADHD are brilliant and easily manipulated.
Right.
But because we're not manipulative, we don't do that. We don't have an agenda other than generally speaking, everyone that I've met has gone through abuse. Everyone from ADHD who I've known through ADHD has gone through an area of abuse, particularly in their early 20s, in which somebody has taken advantage of them repeatedly. And it happened to me quite a few times. It's happened because we're always looking for the best in people. And if someone's nice to us, just a bit, then we will do anything for them. And I think that's the problem, is that we're kind of very vulnerable by being ourselves. But because we're just, and then people kind of patronise you as well. They think you're a child. I know that my ex-girlfriend did that a lot. Like she was a very responsible, very mature person. A bit too serious, a bit too mature. And she's a lovely person. There's nothing wrong with her. But the reason is that, the thing is that after a while it became, and this is quite common, is that it ends up becoming almost a parenting type relationship, because you're with somebody who's more mature than you, and then they start to look down on you, and that lack of respect that you get starts to jar with you, and then all of a sudden you'll do what appears to be erratic to them because they haven't got control. And what they don't realise is that they'll eventually take control over you because you're letting them be right, not because it's easier. It's easier to let people be right than to just say, well, actually no. And then when you do say no, they don't respect you enough subconsciously to take your views on as being as important as theirs, because they think of you as this funny little kind of childish, like whatever. When actually we're not. We're fucking sharp. We're just nice when we need to.
What I hate is that for some reason people think funny. You can't be funny and clever at the same time.
Yeah.
You can only be funny, but you're stupid.
But if you do it
or you're
holding a
clever and you're
microphone-
boring. It's like, yeah.
It's like if you do it holding a microphone in front of a brick wall, everyone thinks you're the fucking bollocks. You know, then they praise you, they laugh at you, they cheer, they clap, and whatever. But if you're not standing there holding that microphone in front of that wall, you know, then you're that twat from the office, and it doesn't make any sense. Because you can do both. You can be both a serious journalist who's actually capable and who produces very good work, which is what I do, and also not give two shits about office politics. And apparently that's not possible.
It's because you don't conform. It's just all the non-conformity thing is scared.
Anxious. It makes them anxious. And when they're anxious, they do stupid shit. And ironically, I ended up sitting in a room full of 4 people, all of whom were going fucking batshit, threatening to fire me over a stupid quip that I made. And when I told my friends it, they were like, "That why have you lost 2 weeks of sleep over this?" I hadn't slept for 2 weeks because of this pressure. It ruined a holiday. It ruined me as personally because I've been accused of saying something heinous when it was obviously just me just trying to make a joke that someone didn't get. And I'm sick and tired of people who have been offended by stuff, who don't take the patience to actually have a third-party perspective because they're stuck up their own asses to actually just appreciate it. And as soon as these fucking lefty twats, I'm not saying left, right, whatever, but as soon as these people who are very easily offended realise that they're actually the cunt, they turn around and say, "Oh, but I'm so aware," and they start to raise awareness. And I've heard this shit so often that it's like, no, you're a twat who is a judgmental asshole, and now you've learned that you're a judgmental asshole because you didn't hear it the fucking time that I stood there saying, I half in tears, showing you what the effects of what you do are. And you try to disassociate, and this is wrong.
I'm gonna disagree with you then.
Oh, we love a debate. We love a debate.
Let's see. I do have to be somewhere else, Marlon.
Quickly, I think I told you before. But the first 2 months I knew you, I didn't like you.
Yeah, because you thought I was racist.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I just said, "Oh, I got a black guy."
Yeah, a bit of that as well.
What the fuck was that?
Yeah, I didn't understand you. I didn't like you for the first few months I knew you.
Wouldn't blame you.
Yeah,
I thought you were. I could feel that.
Yeah, I thought you was a twat, and I don't know. Because obviously I've never met anybody like you from living for Wareham. I never met anybody who doesn't know the social boundary, who say anything to you, even though it's offensive. I was like, who is this guy? I don't get him. I don't like him.
Yeah, I've never been punched in the face. That's the weird bit.
Yeah, and I remember not liking you, and I don't necessarily think that was my fault. Just not.
No,
I don't think.
not.
Yeah,
your fault.
I think you rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah,
you rubbed me the wrong way when we first met.
Yeah,
but
probably
then,
like starting like, who's this big black guy probably wasn't the best start. And I didn't know I'd done that either. I completely forgot.
Yeah, and I was like, and that wasn't even just the main thing, but it was just like little things you say and do that I was like, you're an asshole. And,
well, I mean, to be fair,
and obviously now I know.
Black people kind of new to me.
But it wasn't like all racial, but I was like, oh, I'm like, he's a twat. Just little things you say and did, and I was like, I didn't like you for that. But like, there was a changing point where I gave you the time of day. I remember.
Bless you.
Yeah, I remember. I was coming back from class one day, and then you were skipping outside randomly. I think he was trying to lose some weight.
I was trying to lose weight, yeah.
Yeah,
I love skipping.
Yeah, he was skipping outside. So I was walking into the block. For some reason, I ended up talking to you. And for some reason, this conversation went on for hours. Me and him just talking outside the block.
Aww.
We smoked
and
some
then,
weed.
Yeah. We didn't even smoke weed. We were just talking for hours.
Really?
And then I think we went to one of your friends. I think the one you call Sticky.
Ah, Sticky.
Yeah.
She don't talk to me anymore.
Yeah, we went to her block for some reason. You're like, "Do you want to come?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I went there with you. We just ended up spending the whole entire day together. And I was like, you know what, Les is alright.
Yeah.
And then from then on, that was probably like I met you in that September 2010, and then I didn't like you until probably November. And then from then on, I was like, you know what, Les is like one of my favourite guys.
Yeah, the one you trust the most. Yeah. That's the irony. It's like I think the first people don't trust us is very predictable, but when you understand it.
It gave me a different perspective. I was like, you know what, sometimes you just need to give people chances sometimes. Some people don't mean it. Once you understand somebody doesn't mean what they're doing or they'll have control of it, they're not a nasty person.
Yeah.
This is just, they have no boundaries and all that.
It's the first impression thing. I think
it's the no malice behind it, and that actually obviously it takes a while to understand that, right?
Because if some people don't give that person a chance, they're just like, he's a twat and I'm done. And I've done that with many people. I'm like, he's a twat, I don't like him, and that's it. And I don't bother, but like obviously we lived together in the same building, so I ended up running into you quite a few times.
Well, Matt's girlfriend hung around you because she was too clingy. No, but I think it's the intent. Everything is about intent. It's not about action necessarily. I mean, I've had this problem before where I, for example, felt terrible about something, and I tried to solve the problem. I forgot to apologise to the people around me. They were getting angry at me, and in the end, I had a huge fucking blow up and storm off. Luckily for me, they're two of my best friends. But it's that first impression thing. So I'm terrible at first impressions. That's why I'm about to go and completely fuck up everything when you go.
You'll be fine.
I'll be fine. I'm scared. I'm slightly drunk.
No.
That's why I'm...
The thing about first impressions with you is that
I fuck it up.
No,
I usually fuck it up.
No, but you don't. Like, don't go into it thinking you will.
No, I'm not.
But I think it goes to the people that care about you to be like, you know what? I'm gonna brief my friends about you.
Yeah.
He's like this, but he doesn't mean it, and he's not a nice person. Just give him a chance, and that's what I did when you first met my wife.
She's like, fucking great.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? He's a good guy, but this is what it's about him. He's gonna
say something dumb.
Yeah, he's gonna be.
He's not gonna mean it. He's gonna be mortified when he finds out.
He's gonna push some boundaries. He's gonna say some stuff. He doesn't mean it. This is his personality. I gave her that brief, and then he did immediately do it straight away.
Oh, absolutely.
Within the first minute.
What did I say?
What did you say?
You told her your life story in the first minute.
I was going through a lot.
Like literally, you just met and you just told her everything, and she's like, "Oh, okay."
Okay.
Yeah, we're very intense on first dates were a nightmare.
Yeah, so I told her that, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, Martin, you're right. Yeah, but like, he's a good guy."
It's the person behind the anxiety and things like that.
But can you imagine if I just like, just left and just didn't say anything, and she's like, "Fuck."
It's all at once. That's the thing. It's like you get hit with that tidal wave.
I warned her. She knew what to expect, and I think if you care about somebody and you're like, if I was introducing you to anybody, I'd be like, you know what, this is how Les is, and this is what he does, and that's how he's gonna be. Don't be shocked. And I think that's what you should do. Like, if you have somebody around you that has an interesting personality, just brief people. Don't give you a warning.
Yeah.
That's what your missus should.
I've got called liability Les from 3 different groups, like completely separate as well. Like I've got a reputation on the skiing thing as being like. To be fair, I did stab a guy in the chest with the ski pole. It was an accident. I was coming over a jump and like he was just there. The guy in front of me was too slow and slowed down before. And I was like, shit, what do I do? So I jumped to the side, and this guy who happened to be the social secretary, God damn it, he was like stood there like he'd only just met me, and he was like, hello, and I was like, hi, flying over him, and I was like, shit, what do I do? And I just stabbed him in the chest because I was trying to find some balance. I'm mid-air, trying to find balance, stabbed the guy in the chest.
How far did it go in?
He brought it up later.
Okay.
He had a bit of a bruise. I spent most of my time buying him drinks afterwards to apologise. I say that, I couldn't afford shit, I was a student. Bought him a drink and apologised, but I felt kind of awkward because he had the authority of being the social secretary. Plus, he was a really cool, decent guy. I should probably check him out again. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, but I mean, first impressions, how do you find them?
I think I'm a bit like Marmite because I just go out there and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna be really friendly. I'm gonna be really like, I'm gonna ask about you, but like I don't know. But I'm gonna be like really. Oh wait.
Go on.
Okay, yeah. I'm just gonna be like really like myself because I want people to like me and go out there. But I think I actually realise like I know if people don't. I think I can sense it if people find me too much, but then I dismiss them. I'm like, you know what, if you can't deal with this energy, you're not worth it.
Then it's like, how much time are you going to have to spend making them come to
Oh, exactly. And I don't really, like, there is a part that makes you want to people please, but then you've also, it's kind of like the growth in you that you've got to realise that this is who you are if they can't take it, whatever. But I think a lot of people, like, do remember me in the sense that, like, oh, that's Willow. Like, she did something
everyone
mental.
knows my name.
Like,
I don't know theirs.
Yeah. But it's just like you do come across as a bit mental, but people either decide they like that or they don't, and then it is what it is.
Yeah,
and it's interesting. Really, if you have somebody that's like in your group that has an interesting personality, you have interesting stories to tell about that person. So it does make it interesting. Like if everybody's like just laid back and just the boring.
But it's like everyone's, and it's just celebrating everyone's differences, isn't it? And just realising that's a good thing.
I think every group on a night out needs that person that's
just gonna
you need the one who's a bit like. But the thing is, I'm like the guy who will absolutely 100% look after everyone, get everyone home. Except for you because you're too big to fit in a cat. You know, like, oh god, that's horrible. But yeah, no, I mean, it's one of the things though that going back to what you were saying before I forget it is that it's that whole projection thing that we were talking about before. But do you find that, you know, like you bounce your entire personality and like give them everything and see what they react to, and then because take what they take, kind of like. It's like throwing a net instead of throwing a fishing line.
Yeah, no, I see that in the way that, like, you can put yourself a lot out there, and then if you get, like, nothing back, you're like, oh, shit. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, fuck! and then I'm like, and then but then I just like I leave at that point, so I'm like, no, I've just fucked that up, but it's fine. But I actually like I think it's coming to accepting who you are. It's like it doesn't matter actually. So I don't think I say anything that outrageous, but I will just like crack a few jokes. And if it doesn't work, it's like, okay, you're not my type of person. But you can just, I think, just have that.
I find people who are kind of like secret, who are publicly I find myself with a lot of people who I've fallen in love with, or have fallen in love with in the past. They've always been quite quiet, quite private people. I think one of my ex-girlfriends was so private that, you know, she didn't even tell me anything. You know, I mean, I found out 2 years in that turns out I was dating somebody completely different. But, you know, But anyway, the point is that, you know, I find myself attracted to people who are the opposite to me a little.
Yeah, I mean, well, Tim's quite opposite to me. Like, you know Tim. Like, he's
straight-laced
engineer. He's like, and he's like... Everyone I mean, like, he is mental, like, under the surface, but, like, initially, like, if you met him, he'd be, like, very, like... just very laid back, and it's quite interesting. I think, like, obviously it's basically relationships, isn't it? You find opposites, whatever, and like, you did. Yeah, you literally did fight him. Well, and then you had like a push-up contest and stuff like that.
Why did we do that?
Tim's always up for a scrap.
Yeah, but like, I think I beat all of Andy's mates up once because they were trying to throw me in a bin.
Oh no, I don't think I'm
saying that. I was a bit older. I was like, he was in year 11, and all of a sudden, Andy was really little. My brother Andy, he was really little. Until he was about 18, and then, but when he was about 17, he was the smallest in his year, which is ironic because he's now 6'4", but 6'3", I don't know, who cares? Andy cares, but apparently everyone on Hinge cares because height's the thing.
Oh yeah, that is a thing.
That is such a thing.
So stupid.
I put that I was 6'6" on my. This is back in Tinder.
Many eons ago.
Yeah, because I've been cuffed up since before Hinge. Yeah, I've been locked down before Hinge was around, so I'm talking about Tinder days. But yeah, as soon as I put that, I was 6'6". I start getting all these messages.
I'm gonna put that.
Love eyes and stuff like that.
Oh my god.
The girl that I'm seeing at the moment, she's legally a midget. She's 4'9", I think, and she's put another thing that she was 5 foot, and she comes up to my nipples. She's tiny, but. Like, why did people... Wait, I was like, she was in heels, and she was still unable to get over the bar. It was so cute. But yeah, anyway, height is weird how everyone's into that. It's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had kids in this one, though, they're going to be midgets. Like, I think she's legally a midget. Anyway, whatever. Sorry, I was talking too much. Go on.
So, before we, like, wrap up on it, this episode, I just want to think, what would you have changed in your growing up, like, to deal with the ADHD? What do you think the education system could have done for you? What do you think your parents could have done for you? What do you think your friends could have done for you? Let's start with the education system. What do you think they could have done for you growing up?
Well, in terms of education system, because most of the studies about ADHD have been on men, as I said it earlier, it's just like teachers don't really look out for it in girls. So I think maybe a changing of shift on there for them to be aware of both things would be great.
A societal change maybe, because I mean, the attitude that you described before was that because you're a girl,
character trait, yeah, it
was just one of the, she's a chatty lady, but it was, you know, as a bloke it's different. I think you're right, go on, sorry.
But yeah, so that's what I'd change in that sort of sense. And like, as you said, educationally, I think it's broader problem really, but like the fact that we just sort of make people sit down the whole day it's not good. It's not good for your brain. You need to be moving and thinking. Like that's how I work best, is when I'm like moving and stuff.
Very interesting.
So yeah, exactly, I'd change that.
But that's the difference between teaching styles as well, because you get those ones who are really dull and don't have imaginations of their own. I think that you can't teach an imagination. So there's a different, and the good teacher is someone who can thrive, and that's why I was good at my job, but I was shit at the technical details. So they were like, what's a gerund list? I was fucked. We were all stood there working it out together. You know, which was great fun because it was interactive for the kids, and I think I was good at the job. But the point is, though, that there were teachers I had in the past that would just copy out the textbook, and I don't remember their names, I don't remember their faces, I don't remember anything that I learned allegedly there. And that was exhausting. But again, you need people who are imaginative, but they need to pay teachers properly. They're on £100 a day. It's a joke. It's a joke. Oh yeah, we want you to be energetic in the classroom as well as £100 a day. Here's £100 a day to do 22 hours of work.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Fucking nuts.
So that's education. What do you think your family could have done for you?
I think my mum and dad have done pretty well. I think my dad could probably chill out a little bit better because he's seen me get into a lot of trouble in the past. And I think
I'm talking about growing up. What do you think your mum and dad could have done differently?
They did everything right. I think that they didn't want their son to be weird or to be drugged up on Ritalin, and I think they were protected, and I understand that completely. I never ever blame them for anything. Right. They're really decent people you can look up to. I have no core, but they don't really read about it. I was diagnosed.
So this is what I was going to say. It's like what is really respectful. Obviously, a great parent is like they love you for you, and I wouldn't change anything because my parents just see it as like it's who I am. So like they've never wanted to change it, but I think it's just a broader problem of like nobody really knows a lot about it, so it's hard for them to support you, I guess, because they don't really know what will.
And it's a generational thing as well, because I mean, like this, because they would just say you're odd. No, but then they've never ever let me down. I mean, honestly.
What do you think your family could have done differently?
I think I don't know differently. I think it's more just like knowing more about it and knowing. It's also OCD as well. Like they don't really understand it that much. They're just like, oh, it's a ritual thing.
We've come a long way in the last, like even 5 years.
Wait, exactly. That they'd even accept that it was a thing. You know, like 10 years ago, they'd be like, "I'll get over it."
Yeah, exactly. You'd be fine to face.
There was this guy in my just a quick story. There's this guy in this my class that was bad from like how many years? Like from the beginning, he was just always getting in trouble. Every single day you get in trouble. There's not a day you wouldn't get in trouble. And I think he probably had ADHD just because, and I think the way they dealt with him was just punish him and everything. And I just think he just couldn't fix it. I always wonder what happened to him.
Because you lose respect for authority. He's probably in a position whereby he doesn't understand why he doesn't fit, and therefore he understands that he will never fit, and therefore he won't.
He's
try.
like, fuck it. Yeah, fuck
it.
What's the point?
For me, financially, I have this problem where I can't understand the concept of being paid more than 30 grand a year, even though I know that I qualify for like 60, 80k a year jobs. But for some reason, it's been instilled in me that I'm never going to be able to do that.
Really?
And that's
It's like
because you're on a lot more than I am.
Yeah, it's not that hard to get paid more than that.
Yeah,
and that's not even a lot.
That's because I've been taught that. Is it
like a mental barrier?
It's not. It's a mixture between society teaching me that like because they want a cheap deal, but then that means that you stop looking for jobs that are more than what you're being paid now. So when I was on 20k a year, I was looking for 24k a year jobs, thinking that was a lot, but actually it's not. And when I told these people at Press Association what I was getting paid, they went, "Yeah, we can definitely do better than that." I said low 20s, and she goes, "How much is low 20s? We need a number." I was like 20. And she goes, "Yeah, we can definitely do better than that." And like this was to produce 3 articles a day, a week instead of 4 articles a day. Yeah, they took the fucking piss.
You ever thought that you should just do your own thing, trying to develop?
I have. I've got my own business, and I tell you, it ain't much better. Yeah. Like especially in media, it's a shit show. Like, no one talks to you. It's hard, man. No one cares.
If you work hard enough and get yourself to a point that you will be able to.
Yeah, but you're working for 6 months with no money. Yeah. No income.
That's how starting your business works, though. Well, eventually, you should be able to get like 30 grand a year in London. It's not, like even Surrey, like no, it's not a lot of money.
It's not a lot. But then to me,
maybe to a 21-year-old.
Well, to me, it is because I'm still.
It's certain. It depends what age you are.
I've never been offered more. Because then why would they? Why would someone offer me more if I'm willing to work my ass off for fuck all?
That's great.
That's the saddest thing.
I've been in that situation. I remember my first job out of university. This was like 2013. And I think I was paid like 16 grand a year.
They tried that shop. I was paid
really 6.5. And then what happened with this job? I started basically I worked in the university, and my job was just to tell people where their classroom was. I had this list and where's my classroom? So they were there or on the 3rd floor or something. That was my job. So cool. So eventually
I was writing papers for that money.
It was shit. It was demeaning.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and they used to get me to do all the little shitty tasks like. Move papers to office to office with a Tesco trolley and shit. But what they did eventually, like a lot of people left the job and then they had to move people around. Eventually they moved me in office, and I was in this office, and then what they did, they will move you around but not change your pay.
God.
Yeah.
So I was paid the lowest. So there's some people paid like maybe 27, whatever, and I was on like 16 grand. In fact, doing more work than a lot of these people. And
why is lazier people end up higher up?
Yeah,
it's weird.
And
it's crazy.
Yeah, so I remember just getting to a point where like my contract expired. I had no contract. Yeah. And I was just sat there. And then what made me leave this place was they're like, oh, we're gonna bring in an assistant for you, and you're gonna be the senior, and she's gonna be the junior. So she comes in. How much
she getting paid? 12.
Hold on, she comes in, and then she's like, yeah, so 18, but it's alright. She's on 8, and I was like, you know what? And permanent contract. I was like, what? Now I'm on 16. I'm your senior, and you're being paid more than me. Now I have to go to the board meetings while you do the easier work. She's a nice girl, don't get me wrong. But I was like, fuck this. I wrote an angry email. I'm like, you know, I haven't had a contract in a year. I'm working here, and then I'm like,
that's ridiculous.
If you don't sort this out, I'm leaving. And then then they're like, what happened? I went to Jamaica for Christmas with my mum, and then they HR wrote back and goes, I'm gonna offer you, we're extending your contract. Can you sign it? I'm like, didn't say anything about money in here in the contract. They're like, yeah, we can't deal with the money right now. Just sign the contract. And my manager, oh, you sign the contract, we sort the money out later. I was like, no,
you sort it out now,
yeah, I'm not signing the contract. And then
take the piss.
Yeah, then eventually I got like a new job, and then I handed in my notice, and then they called me into the office. They're like, yeah, I know it's about money and everything. Would you consider staying? And you're on a list to get a pay rise and everything.
Oh, you're on a list.
Yeah, this is a cheap carrot, isn't it? It's a fucking cheap carrot.
And I was like, no, I'm tired. Like, fuck this place.
Oh man, seriously, this country, it's hard to understand why it's okay. And you know, like nothing's. It's not okay anymore. They take the fucking piss. And then they're the first ones to be talking about diversity and inclusion and stuff like, I'd include the shit out of someone for 16 grand a year.
And the thing about that is, I'm like, I know you got the money because people keep leaving.
Yeah.
People are leaving.
Yeah, who the fuck else are you paying?
All you need to do is give me 2 grand from what you're going to pay them. And just
it'd be done.
Joke.
And 18 is piss all anyway.
Oh, God.
Mate, 18 is like,
that would have been enough just to like...
That would just pay you up,
Yeah.
if that. I mean, there's a reason why you can afford a better flat than this, because you know your worth. When you fucking, I mean, like with ADHD as well. I mean, this does link in. Like, we are constantly being told. We hear negativity more than we hear positive, because we're naturally slightly depressed. Because our brains are saying, like, we don't have enough dopamine. Like, the receptors. That's the problem. Yeah. So if I hear criticism, if I hear that you're shit, I start to believe it a lot faster than, you know, like for example, yesterday my missus, she was saying, you know, I said something like, you know, you're the loveliest person I know. Totally true. Yada yada yada. The cameras are off, and but she wrote back the same sort of thing, and I completely dismissed it. I was like, oh, alright, cool, you know, that's fine.
You don't believe it, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, you know, I believe it if she said it in person, but you know, I mean, like, then again, she was also taking a night out without me there, and I was like having to sit at home with my mate getting bored. But I was like, well, come down here then, dickhead. But anyway, so that's neither here nor there. I'm not going to that. So the point is that you don't hear compliments as much as you hear insults. So it's like
So final question is, what do you think your friends could have done better?
Ooh,
well, I mean, I think it would have been nicer if they'd actually kind of mentioned it to me earlier on. I think everyone assumed that I knew, but I didn't. So it took them till Chile to do that.
I'm included in this.
Yeah, but if other people kind of had an idea, it would have been nice if they'd been honest. But I think there's that British thing of, I don't want to disturb him, I don't want to.
So you think it would have been better if I said like that?
Les, have you checked yourself for ADHD lately? Does it sound like you're fucking pinning?
But the thing, I didn't know what it was though. That's the thing. I just knew you had like a personality thing. I didn't know what it was to be like.
Neither did I. And that confusion reigned.
It's not like I'm like an ADHD expert. I didn't even know what it really was.
Yeah.
It's not like I like,
how could you even say that? It's like, oh, Les, you're just a bit different.
Yeah, it's like look, check it out. You're a retard. Look at this. There's all these things that are weird about you. Try looking at them.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I suppose that's what Tim did for me, isn't it? And that's what was good because he's actually.
You said it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. So
was it maybe like autumn, like winter?
Yeah.
That's when I got diagnosed.
Yeah.
Maybe Andy brought it up with Tim, brings it up with you, and now we're here.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But it's like literally, it's like it's helped me like join my life together in a way,
same.
and it's made me make sense. So it'd be great if people had said that before, because then you get that relieving feeling earlier.
It's like, why am I weird? And that's why.
I think people just don't know. So they
yeah.
I guess if you're watching something and you list all these symptoms, you go, Les is like that, or Willow's like that. Then you can be like, okay, I was watching this thing and this is exactly you. What do you think? And then you can send them the link and they're like, you know what, that is me. But,
I mean, when you can be Googling symptoms of ADHD, 100%.
It never happens,
Yeah, but so maybe it's like, that's what I'm thinking. I suppose we've been saying a wider thing, just understanding what ADHD is like in the workplace, for employers, understanding what it's about, friends, family, whatever, help everyone out a lot more.
If my employers had understood and actually taken the time to think about what I was going through when I was being fired, then it would have made the entire process a lot easier for me. And if they pay, you know, like for example, they would have been well off to pay to check me out as well. You know, look, here's what we're offering you. We think as, you know, as your friends, and I trusted them as my friends. That's why I was so devastated when I left, was because I trusted these people. I thought they would have my interests at heart. They didn't, because I had their interests at heart. I was completely. I hugged the person who fucking dobbed me in.
Really?
Oh, it was fucking weird. Because I can't hold on to anger and hate. I completely believe that people are good. No matter what, they're just fucked up sometimes. And that's the hardest part, is that a lot of people don't see you that way. A lot of people don't see the good in your intent. And I think this goes back to what we were saying before. People don't see the person who's trying their best. And it's difficult because when they do, they start preaching about it. You don't preach about it, you shut the fuck up and you just act like a decent human being. That's all you have to do. Shut the fuck up and act like a human being.
I just think, we just need to take the time sometimes and just get to know people. Don't just write people off all the time, I think.
Yeah, it's
easier said than
terrible first impressions as well half the time. Yeah. Oh, we're fucking funny. But, we'll make you laugh, we'll make you cry, we'll do everything.
Should we wrap up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. All right, and ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Willow.
Thanks for having me.
Marlon. Okay, this is Off Point at 30. My name's Les Steed.
I'm Marlon White.
I'm Willow Ingleton.
Thank you very much for listening.
Bye.
All right, I'm gonna go.